Hello everybody. With R15 being announced at SIGGRAPH, you will probably see a lot of videos with new big features, but I want to do something different. I want to show you some of my favorite time-saving features. So let's get started. Alright, that's my tribute to the Man of Steel. Let's go to our first scene, in which we have a bunch of floating objects, and say we want to deform them. The way we did it before is to make a child deformer of the object, and then we want to center this object to its parent and zero its rotations, and then we want to adjust the size, and if we want to be precise we're going to dock this out and select the cube and copy the size. So this whole procedure is time consuming and tedious until we finally are ready to deform the object. We had to adjust practically 9 different values, right? So the way we do it in R15 changed dramatically. All we need to do is select the object and hold shift to make the deformer a child, and when we click we see it's automatically adjusted to the object. We can start deforming it. Sorry about that, went a little far. We can start deforming it immediately. So let me show this again. We select an object and let's try another deformer. Let's try bulge, and there you have it. Let's try with a different shape. Let me just randomize its rotation, and let's go for the taper this time. We can tape our object. We can let me select the parent again. We need to select the parent mesh to make it a child, and hold shift, click, and there we have our Gaussian stretch. Let me disable the taper and the cylinder so you can see our Gaussian stretch is adjusted to the size of the cylinder, and we can Gaussian stretch it. You see the top and bottom values are adjusted, and we can adjust the center. Now all is good when the objects are aligned on the y-axis, right? Because these deformers work on the y-axis. But what happens when we have an object which is aligned on a different axis, like this one? So let's try our bend again, and you can see its y-axis is over here. So when we try to deform it, it doesn't work. So that's why we have this button over here. All we have to do is rotate our deformer approximately to the direction we want it to deform and hit the button, and it aligns it and it adjusts the size. So that's really handy. It saves me tons of time, and I really love it because it allows me to experiment a lot easier, like stacking a bunch of different deformers very easily and trying different things with them. So let's go to our next scene. So this is a bigger project. It has a lot of materials, and many times materials get lost. Not the textures, not the materials. Yeah, so it's because their path is broken. So somewhere, somehow, maybe it got saved in another computer, maybe I moved the texture somewhere else, it got lost. So I usually use a global texture folder in these big projects. What that means is I make a texture folder somewhere, in here for example, and I add it in the preferences, and I put all my textures, all the textures of the folder here. You can even have them in subfolders, and it will still find them. It will read them as local paths. So all you need to do is have all your textures as local paths. But this is really tedious to do in a lot of materials. I mean, you don't know exactly which material, which channel, and which shader has the broken texture inside. So you have to go one by one and check them out and relink them. And that's also a very tedious process. What we can do now, though, is we have a texture manager. So this manager shows all the textures of the scene, all the iterations of every texture in the scene, because a single texture can be used many times in many different channels, in many different materials. And you can see exactly which material is using it and on which channel it's using it in. So you can see I've broken all the paths here of my materials. It would be very tedious to change them one by one, but you can just select all of them, go to the edit menu, localize file names. So all I had to do is put all my textures in my texture folder and localize the paths, and it will find everything. I never have a missing texture again. Every time I have an error, I just go to the texture manager, localize all the file names, and I'm done. So there you have it. I hope these new features will be as useful for you as they were for me. Thank you for watching.